Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Dan Craven, the Good Sports Next Generation. It has been a long time since we've been having to put a show on for you, but I'll tell you what. You know, anybody can put a show on week to week and talk about yada yada and this and that, but I'll tell you what, when we put a show on here, it's got dynamite, baby. It's just got something to talk about. We just don't put shows on to put it on. We put it on when something's happening. So anyways, I'm just going to introduce the regular cast here, then we're going to give you a lineup of what the show's all about. On my left, DJ, nice to see you.
Good to be seen.
I know. And then on my right, the all-ever-present Dwayne Kohler.
And
it's always good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
I know. So tonight, here's the scoops. What's going to happen? We got here's going to be a little rundown of what's going to go on the show tonight. We got hockey history in the making here in Meadville, PA. That's going to be the top story. And I'll tell you what, you don't want to miss this one. If we have time later, because we're going to be rambling a lot, we're going to be talking about the NHL All-Star Game. If we have time after that, we're going to talk about the NFL Pro Bowl. Nah, probably not. No NFL Pro Bowl today. But we might get some Super Bowl predictions if we make it that far. But I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're going to go to our first break, and we're going to bring on our first guest tonight. It's going to be Jamie Plunkett. He's the head coach of the Meadville Bulldog Hockey Club. We're going to talk to him a bit, and then we're going to get to our other two guests that we'll introduce later. So, grab a drink. Get yourself nestled in, a little bit of a blanket, and we'll be right back with Coach Plunkett. And we're going to start this hockey history show in just a minute. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Good Sports the Next Generation. I'm Dan Craven. Of course, I got Dwayne Kohler and DJ Craven with me, co-hosting the show. And, of course, Jamie, thanks for stepping in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's just a big exciting time here in Meadville. So yeah, we're what the buzz is, talking about. We not only the fact that we got a young man here in town that seems to be, just breaking records and just keeping his nose to a grindstone, but the program's doing well this year as well. You want to speak a little bit about that?
We've I think we're 22-12-2 right now. We defeated Montour last night. That was their first league loss, 9-6. They had beaten us earlier in the year, 8-6. So not a lot of defense being played with those two games. But so that was a good win for the kids. I was happy. And a couple weeks ago, we did a little better in our tournament this year than we did last year. We didn't win the game last year, and we went 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 ties. So made it to the semifinals. So I was happy for our seniors to get a little bit of success in the tournament. And now we're down to 8 games left in the regular season, and the playoffs start about a month from today, as a matter of fact. So this is the fun time of the year. It's a long season, as you know, and I think once you turn into February, you can see a little light at the end of the tunnel. And now we're starting to think a little bit about what teams are going to be eligible for the playoffs and who you might play. And we've got a little bit of work to do. We've got an important game coming up with West Allegheny, and we need that win if we want to finish with the second seed. We can't catch Montour, but we do have the opportunity to finish with the second seed, and which would be a goal that I think is attainable. And you're trying to look at which side of the bracket you want to work from, and so a number 2 seed would keep us on one side of the bracket, keep Montour in the other, and hopefully we get another chance at them.
So it's a good deal.
Can I ask you a history question, Coach?
Yes.
Back, DJ's mom and I were in high school together in 10th grade whenever this facility opened. Here just last year, the chillers kind of blew up, and some temporary ones came in and so on. New ones have come in. The new ones, from what I've heard, and I'm back on the board again now, the new ones I've heard are much, much more efficient, and they're making the ice stronger and colder or whatever. How has it been from that perspective, from the player's perspective?
It's been awesome. Aaron Reckick has done a great job since coming on board here, but the technology, I think those chillers were 45 years old, and the technology...
Stuff wears out, right?
Just the energy savings with the new equipment. The chillers are on top of the building. They had to reinforce the structure, and the ice has been great. I think they keep it around 17, 18 degrees, and it was just a failing piece of equipment, and there were 4 down to 3, 2, and then finally last year, right before our tournament, a gentleman by the name of Ryan Konetsky, who had been doing a lot of work trying to keep them going, they said that we can't. They didn't even make the parts to replace them. It was so old. And we rented a chiller out of Buffalo, I believe, and we had that for the rest of this season, and it did a great job. But these new chillers here have been, it's been
That
great.
was the thing I wanted to ask you about, was the cost savings on the energy to run the new system. It's so much more efficient that the savings is going to be, it's in the thousands per month, you know,
Yeah.
that it's going to, so that's going to allow the season to extend out. Is that going to, both ends, on the early and on the late, is that going to help you on some things?
That's Aaron's goal. He'd like to start earlier. Right now, we usually start around the second, third Saturday in September. He'd like to start right around the Labor Day weekend. And this year, they're extending the season till the middle of April, approximately. I think April 13th is the last day. So that allows some end of the season tournaments and teams doing their tryouts. We used to have to go down to Newcastle or up to Erie, and it's just a lot more convenient keeping it all right here in town.
The great news about that to me is it's making for better conditions for the players and for everyone else who uses the facility, but the savings is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've also heard that the Zamboni is not on its final legs, but it's not too far from that.
Yeah,
so maybe the savings might be able to pile up some cash and get that replaced.
My understanding is that they are very close to reaching their goal to purchase a new Zamboni, and I think that final answer is going to be coming out here shortly, but I've heard very encouraging things that they're going to, I don't think it'll happen but before the end of this current season, but I believe it'll be in place by the time we open up next fall.
Your history here, I mean, you've lived through many generations here.
Yeah.
What's it like? I mean, to me, things are on an upswing right now. Am I right about that?
It is. I think, in my opinion, I think it all starts with the youth hockey. You have to, and DJ came through that system, and we've got great people in place. And if your numbers are strong, then the future bodes well. And this year we started a program. Aaron started the program called Little Penguins. They've gotten a lot of new skaters involved at a very affordable price. I believe Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins are the main sponsors of this. And there was a 10-week session in the fall. There's a 10-week session underway now. And I think it's creating interest, getting kids to try the sport, making it very affordable, giving them some equipment. And the hope is you get them on there, you get them hooked, and somehow the parents find a way to make it work. And it's an expensive sport, but I think the place has been busy this year. I think there's a lot of excitement, and if the numbers stay strong at that, mini mite level, and then that's where it really has to happen. And because our numbers were dipping for a while, and it was hard to field a competitive team when you really don't have a lot of competition coming within. And so with the numbers increasing, we're very excited about what's going on in the future.
That's great news.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, which you probably won't, because I can't remember the last time I was wrong. And if I do, I was probably mistaken. But anyway, I remember when we first started coming up, and when DJ was little, you mentioned he came up through, and I was coaching. Kevin Pip and everybody early. There was a whole lot of no pucks, and we went to Laurel Stam power skating a couple times. But obviously, you got to score with a puck. But I mean, in your opinion, if you can't skate, I understand there's stick handling and stuff, but isn't that like a huge part? I mean, your opinion, if we're talking to kids out there, this is what you need to be looking at?
No question. If you can't skate, you can't play this game. And the game's a whole lot easier to play if you can skate. And what I've had to do, and our coaching staff over the last several years, was we now devote a portion of practice to skating, because I didn't have to worry about it as much back years ago, because we had Kevin Pip, and Kevin Pip did not succumb to my little son's not having fun, because he stuck to it. And one of the compliments that I always received as a coach was how well Meadville team skated, and I said, well, that goes back to the beginning when these kids were on the ice, and Kevin just stuck to the fundamentals, and we still talk about him in a very positive way, and how many of these kids then credit Kevin for allowing them to play the game. And some of that stuff you can teach as they get older, but the skating, it's very difficult to pick that up if you're 11, 12, 13 years old. It's something you have to start at a relatively young age, and fall down, get up, fall down, and then next thing you know, you're flying around out there without any parent holding on to you, and then you put a stick in their hands, and then you introduce the puck, and then away you go. But you're absolutely right. The skating is such a key piece, and we do a lot of edge work, balanced, trying to get the kids out of their comfort zone, and we have picked up some drills from different coaching clinics, friends of mine who coach, and we spend probably 10 to 12 minutes in practice on that, out of a 60-minute practice.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we just set the record clear, that I remember there being plenty of practices or times of practices when there wasn't any pucks out there, and we definitely did work on skating when I was there. I just want to make sure that we do set that. I remember just a couple, just a little bit.
That Kevin Pipp, he was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, yeah, because you played at Cornell, right, Jamie?
Little bit.
Little bit. But anyways, I mean, so when you were growing up, I guess, you were from Canada, right? And
yeah.
I mean, was it, some people say that they used to skate to work down the, some of the frozen rivers, and I mean, the skating was like second nature for everybody up there, wasn't it?
My recollection is that we had very little ice time at the rink. Our school, the elementary school that I attended when I was in Toronto, the school board, they put up a rink every winter, and that's where you learned how to play hockey. And you'd be on a rink, and there might be 5 games going on it, and with different age groups, and you learned how to keep your head up, and you learned how to avoid, and that's really where a lot of us learned. And some people had ponds, lakes, but there was no formal training about skating like what Kevin was teaching you kids. It was just something you learn. And that's why I say without hesitation, the kids today at 14, 15 are doing things that we never even dreamed about. Just from what they do with skills coaches, skating, the edge work. It's phenomenal what these kids are doing, and a lot of it's from teaching them and creating obstacles, and they have to kind of go around them with one skate. And because in hockey, you're getting pushed and pulled, and you have to get on one edge and be able to go around a defender and maybe have one arm on it to hold them off. So these drills that you're teaching these kids are trying to replicate what they're going to have to do in a game. And yeah, we had very little ice time at an organized rink.
I mean, your reputation is way out there. If you just go on the mark and you see the banners and all the pictures, but so I feel confident that you'll give us an answer that's pretty consistent. But when you watch the Pee Wee travel game, or you're watching a Squirt travel game, I mean, I'm going to guess to you, it's going to be like you're going to be able to see a kid, and you're going to be able to stick out like a Phillis and a Smart and a Franz and all these Barinskis and Nickersons. I mean, these kids is it something that you can just like pick right out of the way, or how does that?
I watched our Bantam travel team the other day, and you could see 2 or 3 kids that just they catch your eye. Just their speed, their ability to skate, and. So those ones, but we also have had kids who come along and develop they all develop at different rates. Some develop quicker than others, and the kid I like to use as an example is Tommy Westfall. Tommy Westfall was a big gangly kid, and it took him time to grow into his body, and it wasn't until he was a junior almost that he finally put it all together. And it was just one of those things. He just kept at it. So, and he turned out to be a great player for our program. And so and a kid like you mentioned, Scott or Ryan Smart, they excelled at an early age, and we were able to complement those guys with some other outstanding players, and we had a lot of success during that era when those kids were playing. So. Yeah,
DJ, you might have a question, but before we get out of here, before I kind of get back to our next break here, but the kid we're going to have here tonight, Nick Franz. I mean, let's. In my mind, I mean, I've been around hockey for a long time, and it just seems like he's doing something special here, and I don't know if that's there's probably a lot of things going on, but I mean, What do you see in this kid with regards to his ability just to do the things he's been doing?
Well, he practiced with us as an 8th grader, so we had a good long look at him before he even joined the team, and he would have been one of our top forwards as an 8th grader. And I think he has what Ryan Smart and Scott Phillis and Morgan Nickerson, I would put those 4 kids as probably the most talented offensive kids that we've ever had in our program. And I think it's something that you have or you don't have. I don't think it's anything that he was taught. But he's like a lot of great offensive players. He seems to have a knack to be always around the puck. He can go into a scrum with 4 guys and he'll come out with a puck.
Yeah, we've noticed that.
He'll go to an open area where everybody else is going in another direction, and all of a sudden he's wide open and they'll get him the puck. And Scott was the same, and Ryan and Morgan. And those are the players that just have these offensive gifts. He's got a great shot, a great release, as did Morgan and Scott and Ryan. And those 4, you look at our record books, those 4 names just pop out over and over again in every category. And the one statistic that Morgan had coming into this year was the 1.63 goals per game. Well, this kid's he's over 2, per game, and he's a tough kid. And for all the abuse, usually those kids take from getting slashed and hooked, he doesn't have very many penalty minutes, and he doesn't take things too seriously, and it's been a lot of fun, just as it was with those other 3 guys that I mentioned. But it's been a lot of fun. He's a hockey addict. He's a rink rat. He's here all the time. We got home late last night. He's talking about going out to the stick and puck session for an hour and a half after we're done here tonight. And that's something you don't have to push him into. He's very self-motivated. He's a driven kid and just a great athlete.
Yeah, the one question I guess I was going to ask is that you mentioned, the long history that we have here, the Bulldogs, and you mentioned the 4 that you did, and, everybody obviously gets treated maybe a little bit differently, and how do you kind of coach that? Because as you mentioned, you see him from an 8th grade level, that's coming. Obviously, you've had some experience with some of those type of talent, and there's a difference on whether it's somebody like that or just some schmuck like me that comes out and just going to go in the corners. There's a difference of how you do that, and how you got to be able to treat them opposed to everybody else.
Well, I mean, if you say you treat everybody the same, that's not true. I don't treat a freshman the same as
exactly.
I treat a kid that's been in the program. I think he's built up a savings account, and we may have to make some temporary withdrawals from him. But he's such a team-oriented kid that he gets along with everybody. Everybody looks to him. The same way with Scott, Morgan, and Ryan. Typically, your most talented offensive players might not be the best defensive players on a game-in, game-out basis, but I'll live with that any day of the week when you get the offensive production that you get from those kinds of players. But he's not one of these guys that comes in and demands a special treatment.
Right.
He's never been that way at all, and he gets along with a senior just as well as he gets along with a freshman. And we've got 2 freshmen this year on the team, and he treats them just like they're an equal. So
yeah.
that's been really refreshing.
And that's got to show some leadership and abilities there too, just to be able to do that.
Yeah, and when your best player is your hardest working kid, it certainly makes it easier in practice to get a guy going. If they see this kid working hard, if this kid's working hard, I better start working harder too.
It's contagious.
Yeah.
Coach, what happens when you have a guy that's a standout, not just in hockey, but in other sports too? I mean, to me, I think that's a great thing. You're kind of, hockey starts early. It starts in, early in the fall, goes into the spring, but still.
I'm a big believer in kids. I don't believe in kids should be playing hockey 12 months a year. I think they need to play other sports to get an appreciation. I think develop other things, hand-eye coordination. Nick's a great baseball player. Scott was a golfer. Ryan's played. They played different sports all the way coming up, and then when they got to college, specialize in hockey. But in Nick's case, he's a great baseball player too. And we've got a number of our kids on our team this year that are playing lacrosse, both at the middle school and varsity level, which I think is great. It's some similarities in the two sports, but we've had baseball and lacrosse now quite a bit. And I always think that if you take a few months off, you really look forward to the fall season instead of saying, oh boy, now I got to go to the spring season and the fall season. So I think they need to step away from it and kind of recharge and do something different.
I helped our Armstrong crew cover some baseball last year, and Nick's a standout. I mean, he is a phenomenal baseball player, just like hockey. I thought you'd say that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, any just closing comments. We'll go to our second break here. Anything you want to add, Chief, before you hang them up before we go to our next break?
Well, those are the two guys you want to talk to, so you should go to your break, Dan.
Okay. With that said, we'll be back in a minute. Hey, welcome back to Good Sports, the Next Generation. I'm Dan Craven, and we thank Coach Plunkett for his time. And as you can see, we kind of swapped out personnel. That's what they call a line change in hockey for you people out there. So if you want to pay attention to that, one guy goes off, a couple guys go on. That's what we call a line change. But with us now, of course, Dwayne's going to be on the far end. We got a couple new people here. Scott Phillis, always a pleasure. And then to my left, Nick Franz, captain of the Bulldogs. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about, we sort of have the young and the young and the old and the new. I guess the big talk here tonight is what Nick Frantz has been doing in high school hockey, and especially here in Meadville. And we're certainly proud to be a part of that. I mean, I've been around hockey for a long time, and you see records come and you see records go. And Scott, let's start with you. I mean, you graduated when?
1995.
95. Okay,
Yeah.
So we're looking at what? This is 20 years ago.
Yeah. 20 plus.
20 plus. So that record's been around for a long time.
Yes, it has.
Let me ask you, when you were playing way back in the day, did you kind of say to yourself, because I think you're a Gretzky guy, right? You're like Wayne Gretzky. I mean, you're coming to the rink and you're saying, look, I want to do what Gretzky does, but at a high school level. Was there something like that motivated? But what motivated you to do what you did on the ice?
Well, I think I was fortunate. I had two older brothers that played, and I was a rink rat, and I got to watch them growing up, and so I think that was probably more of my motivation. I obviously, growing up in the 80s, I loved the Edmonton Oilers and what they were doing in the NHL, which was scoring a ton of goals, and so that's what I gravitated to. But once I got to high school, and I was telling this to Nick a few weeks ago, I didn't think about it because we were on such a roll winning-wise. That was kind of, I think, where my mind was. The point thing kind of took care of itself. It was a product of what we were doing as a group, and as Nick will tell you, hockey's a team game. I mean, you can't do it by yourself. So he might be the trigger man, but there's other guys out there doing a lot of work. So it wasn't something that was it was a little different situation than Nick was in, I guess. You closing in on the record. I mean, Ryan, I think, said it the year before me, but we were just kind of trying to continue winning, I guess, at the time,
Right.
So.
And to win, you score goals, and someone's got to put it in the net, right?
Yeah.
Is that your mentality? Someone's got to score?
I think. I mean, I definitely wasn't afraid to shoot. And if I missed, I wasn't afraid to shoot again. I mean, I think, it's the same in basketball.
Well, you gotta shoot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same in basketball. I mean, scorers aren't afraid to shoot, and if they miss, they forget about it, and it's, you got to have a short memory.
Yeah, somebody said it, if you don't shoot, that's an opportunity missed.
Yeah.
So anyways, here we are.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, you're sort of in not an awkward situation, but I mean, you're a positive. I'm sure that you're rooting for Nick, but I mean, sometimes it's hard to see. It's kind of like ripping a calendar off another birthday calendar. Was it hard to see that? Was it hard to see that go down?
I think the hardest thing is just you reminded me how long it's been, because now I feel old. No, I honestly never thought much about it. It's not something that was in the back of my mind that I had that record. I mean, I'm happy for Nick. I'm happy for the program. It's good to see. Obviously it's bringing a lot of interest to hockey in Meadville right now, which is a positive. And it's just like any sport. It's very hard to compare. I mean, hockey's very different now from when I played. I mean, goalies are better now, sticks are better, players are, overall there's more depth in Pennsylvania, and I mean, so the game is very different from when I played. So it's you're not, in my opinion, you're not really comparing apples to apples.
All right, very good. We'll come back to you in a minute. I don't know, DJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but my number is 76 over 254. What do you
I think that's what we had. Yeah,
Nick?
is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Nick Franz, everybody. That's what, see, that was a good answer. I think that's something like that. And I think that's probably why it is the way it is, because it's like you just go out and do your job and let the numbers kind of collect.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Let me ask you a question. Do you do something special to train? I mean, what makes you think, in your mind, what makes you think you're not better but more talented than the next kid? What do you think that is? What do you bring to the table?
I kind of just like to go out and practice and work on a lot of things. My dad used to always make me go out to the driveway and take a lot of shots. One time we moved one of my old dryers out there, actually, Crosby, and I used to always shoot in the dryer and stuff. And
did you have a dryer like Crosby?
Yeah. We for a little bit we had in our basement, then it got too loud, so we moved it outside. And,
that's awesome.
So I used to take a lot of shots, and I still like shooting the puck. So whenever I can, I'm out on the ice or something. They have a stick and puck, and practice. I just take as many shots as I can.
A lot of hand stuff.
Yeah.
Do you rollerblade a lot when you were a kid?
I mean,
Let me rephrase that. Do you rollerblade a lot? You are a kid.
No. Honestly, not really. I mean, I didn't really
I'm just curious.
rollerblade at all. But
Yeah.
What's it like to, you're obviously getting closer after maybe last year, or maybe even after your sophomore year. You kind of have an idea. Obviously, Scott's been here. Coach Phillis has been here for the whole time you've been here. You have an idea that you're going to be chasing him down, and he ultimately is on the bench, and he still is Coach Phillis. He's probably the same coach as when I was here. Still, you've got that assistant coach relationship of. So what's that? Tell everybody a little bit what that's like, of kind of chasing. You're kind of chasing somebody down, but he's there. He's at every practice. He's at every game. What's that been like? For you and kind of your relationship with him.
At first, I really didn't realize I was going to be that close to making it to the record, but after finding out that I was going to beat it, it was kind of cool to have the person there and learn from your other coaches like Chief and Kyle that he's one of the best players to play in Bulldog hockey, and that I could be up there if I break his record. So it's just kind of neat to see it go from one person to
He
another.
liked to rub it in a little bit.
I did. Yeah,
Good. I was going to our next question is to make sure you rub it in a little bit.
He did. Yeah.
Nick, how'd you pick hockey? You're great at other sports too.
Actually, when I was younger, I think I was 4 or 5. My uncle Tony, he was a big hockey fan, and he got me into coming to hockey and talked to my parents a little bit about me to start playing. So I went to some of the learn to skates, and from there, at first I didn't really like it, but I talked to Doug Hanaway as well. He was one of my coaches, and he ended up getting me to keep playing the sport I like.
I've heard a lot of talk about that learn to skate thing, and so that's a real deal. That's something to get a kid involved in.
Yeah, I think it really helps to get your kids started, and that's kind of where I started. I just went from there.
So what are the future plans? I know you're a good baseball player, Scott. Played Division I golf. There's something to be said about that. You look at all these people in NHL, and it just seems like some of you guys just have a little bit more of an advantage than the rest of the world. I don't know if it's genetics or whatever. You look at Spencer Lee. Now, Spencer Lee, he's an outstanding wrestler, and now he's wrestling at Iowa. Both of his mom and dad were Olympic athletes, and you wonder how and you got Journey Brown running all over Beaver Stadium. But my question is, this what you're doing here to me is it really needs to be noteworthy. So I'm going to guess, there's probably like 3 people watching this show at some point. This is like a cure for insomnia. But some little kid may find a tape and look this over and say, I want to do that. So what's the message for the peewees and the squirts? Like, how do you get to where you're at? Other than beating up a dryer.
I'd say just take your dreams as far as they can go, and if you want to play hockey after high school or whatever sport you play, just work your hardest at it, and maybe you'll get somewhere, and hopefully you'll get somewhere. That's what I do. I think I just try to give my all every game and every practice, and even off the ice when I was shooting at the dryer and stuff. But just give it your best and maybe get an opportunity.
Scott, you guys, I feel you got to have your hand in on this record a little bit, right? I mean, the fact that you're coaching them, and I mean, indirectly, you know, you're.
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably. I think he subliminally picks up some of the stuff I'm trying to tell him. I mean, I don't know. You sit there and you beat his ear and you beat his ear, and hopefully eventually some of it gets through. Right. But I'm sure.
It's like a true hockey player.
Yeah, and so I'm sure. But and to Nick's credit, I lived up the street from him as a kid, and every time I drove by his house when he was a little kid, his hockey net was in his driveway when he was out shooting, and there's something to be said for that, And you talk about genetics, but the world's full of really good athletes, right. But it's the ones that that want it and put the effort in are usually the ones that succeed, and no matter what sport it is. I mean, typically a good athlete can be good at anything they choose to be good at, and that's the reality. But what a lot of people don't know about Nick is, as a kid he was out shooting all the time, where some of these other kids on our high school team were probably playing video games. So right. That creates the difference.
Right. Nick, what do you think about the little guessing contest we put on Cool 101.7? How do you feel about that?
It's pretty cool, but I mean, I don't really think about it too much. I just want to keep winning.
I talked to
as far as we can go.
That's good. I just thought it was something that the community should be jumping on. I mean, the fact that you're still climbing here.
Yeah.
I don't know what what's the single season? 71, 72 was Morgan's.
You got that?
Yeah, you got that 76 now, right? So the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Now he's just making it harder on the next guy.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
Well,
just think you could be bald and have a great beard and sit right there in another 20-some years.
This is you in 20 years. How you feel about that? You okay with it?
Yeah, it'll be all right.
He'll come back for it. He'll come back for it.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, baseball season's right around the corner. Dwayne, you got anything to add?
So hockey, I mean, to me, that's kind of like Meadville's, trophy. That's gotta feel like a weight on your back, doesn't it? I mean, I want to ask you that same thing.
Well, I'll go.
It's true.
Talking about when I was playing and worrying about the record. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I was a senior, I felt a lot of pressure because we won a state championship the first 3 years I was on the team, and I was captain my senior year, and I did not want to be the guy that ended that run. And I'll be honest with you, there's probably a piece of that pushed me towards golf and wanting to play golf in college, because I think I made such a big deal about winning the state championship in hockey in high school that I put a lot of pressure on myself, and golf almost kind of became a relief. I'd go out and nobody'd bother me. It was an individual sport, and I could kind of do my own thing and not worry about it. So yeah, I mean, we get a lot of press. We're in the paper all the time. There's definitely, and I think at the time I don't know if I realized it. As I've gotten older, I kind of realized it. I think there was a lot of that, feeling a lot of weight on your shoulders. So, and
you walk in the rink and you see those banners hanging down, and a whole line up there. I mean, what's that like? What's that?
I mean, it shows there's a lot of tradition here, and I think it's the same thing as him. I think there's a lot of pressure as being like an older guy on the team and as a captain. You look at all the past teams that have been successful and how many years they have been a successful team. So, I mean, you just kind of want to keep that winning tradition in Bulldog hockey going.
There's a lot said about that. I'm glad you just brought that up. I don't care. When I was playing through, I mean, you were good, and all of a sudden you got a letter on your sweater. Two things happen. You're a target to the other team, and the other thing is you got to act and play accordingly. There's a lot of people that can't play with letters on their sweaters. When I was a trainer in Fort Wayne, we had players coming in and out, and they got good, and Coach Hawley would put a letter on their sweater, and their stats would tank. They couldn't think. They were nervous. They were kicking things because they couldn't take the pressure. So I think it's an exceptional. I think it's a feather in your guys' cap to say not only that you can play at that level, but now they've added additional fact that you're the captain, you're a leader, So those are just something else to put in your resume, and that's something to be proud of from my perspective, anyways. Did you have anything to say?
Yeah, no doubt. There's definitely a lot about that. I mean, I certainly didn't have a letter on my sweater, but I mean, you definitely felt it. I mean, our pressure came from our captain, who obviously his dad is a coach. He's been around forever, and Jeffy Hollaball, and it was almost the pressure of the same thing of like, all right, we're close. We've got a good enough team here. We need to do this, and we almost need to kind of do it not only for ourselves, but we need to do it for Jeffy because of how much it meant to him as our captain. So it was kind of the same way. But the one thing I was going to ask, and kind of going off the pressure thing, maybe what you asked earlier, Pops, was what is your future plans as far as this is your senior year? I'm assuming you're hoping on graduating in the spring and moving on and on to whatever it is you're going on to. Do you have plans, have ideas, anything to let us know about?
Right now I'm deciding. 50-50 between baseball and hockey still. So, I'd like to play junior hockey, but I'd also like to play college baseball, and whichever takes me further is where I'd like to go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was just kind of curious if you had made any plans yet. And it's obviously good to be undecided. That's no problem. Keep your options open.
Yeah.
Well, so so at the next level, D's getting back. I mean, you were the captain at Barron, weren't you?
Yeah. So I meant
So
here. I meant here.
I'm not here, but I'm just saying in general. I mean,
Yeah.
when I never played here either, but when I did play on teams and those
Right.
travel teams and stuff out of Pittsburgh, all of a sudden even if you get that, it's so funny because you put your sweater on and all of a sudden you have an A or a C and you start walking this way, it starts to get a little heavier. It's like what the, you just got to stand up a little bit and people start asking you questions like, I don't know what time the bus is leaving. Look at this guy. But you kind of felt the.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it was when we're talking about Barron specifically, because of the program that I came through here and what was at Barron, it was way natural because it was just easy for me because I needed to step. It was leadership easy 101, and to me, it felt good. It was one of those, when we went around the room and we had basically a little piece of paper the coach handed out and said, who do you want your captains to be? That was just kind of how everybody kind of voted for it. I mean, when the C position was, I said, me, I want to be your captain. That was kind of the mentality, and that's kind of the things that these guys have. It's just that's the mentality you have, and you add the pressure, but it's almost you welcome that pressure. You want that. That's the something that athletes that want at this level. You want that pressure. He wants the puck at the end. I mean, Cole Weber's open. He's going to give it to him, but he wants the puck. Phillis wanted the puck. You want that pressure, and you kind of thrive on it, and it gives you this natural high a little bit that you want it, and you want it again and again and again, and that's where you're going to continue to shoot pucks at the dryer in the driveway and not play video games and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of some of my thoughts on it.
Right, that's all good stuff. Yeah, anything else, Scott? What do you got to add, buddy?
Not much. Thanks for having us on.
Well, I don't want to miss anything. I think it's. I mean, first of all, I'm a hockey guy. Did you guys know that I'm a hockey guy? And this, to me, this is like my backyard. And to answer your question, Dwayne, earlier, I'm gonna segue. Is when my brother lives out in Lancaster County, and I was down there, and he introduced me to somebody. He said, "This is my brother. He's from Meadville." And you're talking about all the way on the other side of this Commonwealth. He looked at me and goes, "That's where they play hockey, isn't it?" Now, I'm over there standing in Commodore, and this guy's talking about hockey. So, anyways, that's what the program's all about here. But yeah, no, you're welcome. I mean, anything else you got to add? I mean,
What about? So obviously, we guys just came off of a game. This is a little delayed, so we're not live here. But just got a game last night. Montour, obviously, big win for you guys. You're gonna have, Cheek talked about it a little bit. West Allegheny next Monday. You got to be able to finish this season off strong here. But talk a little bit about that. You obviously got West Allegheny coming up. What are you guys doing to talk about that? Anything like that along those lines?
Yeah, I didn't go to the first West Allegheny game, but from what I understand, they're very beatable, and that's the game. The reality is, it's more important than last night's game, and we have to beat them. Last night's game, as far as standings wise, didn't mean much. So, West Allegheny is a big game, and I think the key, and I know it was the key last night, is you got to be able to run three lines and have some depth. And we're playing 17-minute periods, and if you're only playing 6, 7, 8 guys a lot, they're going to get tired. So I think that's I think for us going into the rest of the down the stretch here and into the playoffs, that's going to be a key for us, because I think we have good goaltending, we have good defensemen. Nick obviously can put the puck in the net, but the longer we can keep Nick with some energy and Cole Weber and a couple of the other guys that we rely on to score, the better chance we're going to have. So you got to have that be able to use your depth a little bit.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that the next teams are going to have. I mean, that you get to that next level, it gets to but then you start creaming out some of the crop, and that third line is, and some of these guys, these depth guys are crucial. I mean, I'm sure you had it on your teams. I had it on my teams. I mean, DJ Durkee started in the championship game. I mean, it's just the third line guys. They come in crucial, and those are the guys that you really you don't necessarily count on them, but at the same time you really got to have that depth in order to go forward.
Hey, I'm curious how you guys, both of you, feel about this, but to me, I'm a big fan of extracurricular, that you're out there and you're on a team. Me personally, thinking back on my high school and college experience, those are the things that I remember, much more so than what a particular class or whatever. I'm curious what you think about that. I mean, being part of a team, and you got to stand up, as an individual sometimes. You got to be part of a team sometimes. You learn how to interact with your teammates, and you learn how to work together. And so, what do you think?
Well, I think there's no doubt, and I think everybody's heard it. You create a bond with those guys. I mean, especially when you're a teenager and it's such an impressionable time in your life. There's still quite a few guys that I grew up playing with or played high school with that I'm still close to. Or when I see them, if I haven't seen them in 10 years and haven't talked to them, I still, you immediately kind of go back and you have that thing in common, and you shake their hand and you can talk to them like it was 20 years ago. And that's obviously Nick doesn't have the years on him yet to experience that. DJ does.
I do.
And that's the cool thing about it, really. And I played college golf, and I'm the same. I mean, probably my closest friends in the world are the guys I played college golf with, because I spent so much time with them. And yeah, you definitely form a pretty cool bond that way. That's for sure.
Me personally, I think those things help you in your life. I think those are those skills that you learn as being part of a team, and when to stand up, when to get up and work on your own. Those are kind of things that you need to have. I don't know, DJ, you're a lot closer to this than I am, but what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that the extracurricular activities that I've done, primarily with sports when I grew up, and especially in high school, I mean, it definitely helps you, going forward. There's no doubt about it. I mean, like you said, you learn how to interact with different people, different personalities, finding bonds that Phillis talks about. I mean, those they just never go away, and it makes you a better person. I think a lot of it has to do with, yeah, you can learn maybe that you didn't get an A and you lost that way, but losing the game and basically learning how to lose is a lot harder than learning how to win. And that's another big thing that you get out of extracurricular activities as far as in sports, at least in my opinion.
Well, hopefully, I mean, our job as coaches isn't to win state championships really at the high school level. I mean, let's face it, it's our job's to try to help raise good kids, and hopefully we're teaching them how to work hard, how to, deal with commitment, which they're going to have to deal with in life, how to deal with adversity, working together, being a team, all those things that you are going to use later in life. Who knows what the future brings, what career you're going to be in, and so how to follow rules. All those things that society relies on. That's Jamie and Dick and I and Kyle Wade's job to hopefully instill in these kids. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Well, yeah, I just maybe we'll close up this segment here, but before we do, Nick, I just wish you the best of luck, and I think you're just doing a great thing for the community. There's, again, you got Journey Brown doing his thing, Spencer Lee, even though he moved away. There's a lot of other people I'm missing. There's a kid that played from Maplewood volleyball down in Penn State. There's a lot of exceptional athletes, and I think you can consider yourself in one of the elite of the elite. And I'm proud I got a chance to see it, because I'm a hockey guy, and just to see that kind of stuff go by the wayside is really something special. So I wish you the best of luck in the future for sure.
Thank you.
And hey, we still got some Bulldog hockey to announce before it's all over. And Scott, I mean, I got 25 years is a long time,
Stop reminding me. Holy cow.
It's just a fact
It
that
is.
record
I know,
there
I'm
for
getting
a long
old. Well,
time.
I know. I got my 12-year-old out on the ice right now, so maybe him and Nick will be on in 6-7 years talking
Yeah, it
about.
won't be me talking to you. Well, anyways, you guys so anything, Nick, you want to close up with?
No, just
Guys, one question. Who's your favorite hockey player in the NHL?
I think a lot of people say about Sidney Crosby. I mean, just everything that he does correctly, and he does everything
That's
at
a
his
good one
hardest.
to have. If you're going to model somebody, that's a good one to model.
Not a bad one.
Yeah.
No, he threw a puck. Did you see him at the All-Star game? He threw a puck to a little kid with a Capital sweater on it
Yeah.
right before the face-off. Yeah, he's an ambassador for the game.
And he's rubbing it in the Capitals fans'
Well,
face
that
too, I think, which was pretty slick.
Plus, he won
move.
the MVP.
Did you talk about our playoff game that we're going to have at home yet?
Why don't you share that?
February 28th, 7:30. So,
I
yeah,
think
we
we'll have that.
already, yeah, we
That'll be
already
on the
know.
radio. Can I say that, Kevin? Cool 101.7. Face off. Me and Deej giving you the play-by-play. So if you don't have nothing better doing your insomnia, we'll cure it for you. All right, we'll end this session. If we have more time, we'll come back and talk about some other stuff. So for Dwayne, Scott, myself, Nick, and Deej, we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the third and final segment. And the reason why there's 3 segments, because there's 3 periods in a hockey game. You see the connection here, people. You got to pay attention. We got people coming in and out, line changes, 3 segments, 3 periods. Stay with us. Okay, here we are. What we're going to do now is we're going to leave Nick Frantz on board, which is good. And we're going to have Scott back on board. Dwayne's here, Dwayne, and also DJ. What we're going to do is talk about a little about the NHL and the All-Star game. Did anybody see the game? Did you watch it?
I did watch it. First time in years I've watched it.
I like the format. Do you like the 3-on-3 format?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Nick, what do you like? You ever play 3-on-3 coming up?
Yeah, we did like a cross ice 3-on-3, but I think it gives you more space. You get to see a lot more stuff happen, and it seems like more goals, honestly. So it's a lot more fun to watch for me.
There you go. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I actually did. I'm with you, Scott. I don't know why. I found myself watching it this year. I don't normally. Maybe it's because Ovechkin wasn't playing, so I just decided to support that game. But yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't catch the first semifinal game, but then I saw the one with the Metropolitan was in, and that obviously the Crosby, Letang, and was it Havoc
Barzal.
or whatever
Guy from the Islanders.
Barzal, whatever that rookie is. I mean, it didn't seem like they didn't have the puck for maybe 10% of the time they were on the ice. I mean, 90% of the time they had possession of the puck, and it was just almost just constant. Of course, Todd Reardon was behind the bench, I think, for the Metropolitan. So he obviously knows Crosby and he knows Letang and knows to put them obviously together, and then you put that other guy with him. I mean, it was something pretty to watch for me because you're a Penguin fan. And pretty to watch just because, like you said, for the game of hockey, it was just so open. I mean, and again, those kind of guys, as you are, and obviously Scott was as well too, just the creativity that you can do and just constantly just keep moving around, and then they just become pylons, and it was just basically just fish in a barrel is what it seemed like. So yeah, I thought it was great. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I think it's fun to watch. I mean, if you look at Barzal, like he said, I think he likes to, or he was a Crosby fan as well when he was younger. You could tell by his style of play and just how they work together. So it was definitely fun to watch those guys work together, and all the other guys that are just almost as good as, if not as good as Crosby, and they're all great players. So it's just a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard the rumor in the grapevine is you're a Rangers fan.
Yeah, I mean,
That's nothing wrong with it.
some years
It's okay.
it's sad, some years it's okay.
Nick, this is where we talk about sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
This is one of those low moments in your life.
I can agree right now.
No, but Luck was playing well, don't you think?
Yeah,
The King?
he's pretty good. I mean, he does fair share in the All-Star game, so
Yeah, he's pretty good.
for how old he is.
Yeah. What about McDavid? You're an Edmonton guy, right?
Yeah, obviously being on the out west, I don't see a whole lot of him.
Right.
But I mean, his speed is just unmatchable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just impressive.
Was it 4 in a row or 3 in a row that he won the speed?
Three in a row. Yeah. But even in games, I mean, not even the speed contest in the All-Star. I mean, you just watch him. I don't think people appreciate how fast those guys are going.
Not on TV.
I think they've clocked him during a game going, over like 27, 28 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, you imagine that, skating backwards playing defense with a guy coming at you 27 miles an hour. I
ride my bike and I'm getting 20. I mean, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And what's a shame is I went and watched him once when he played in Erie. That's it. And now I'm like, why didn't I go watch him more?
I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, you know what my story is about the Connor McDavid in Erie? We get a ticket. Diane gets my wife gets some free tickets. We're going them up. I'm all pumped. We're going to this big, nice seats. Healthy scratch. Connor McDavid's healthy scratch.
Yeah.
That's why I don't buy lottery tickets. There could be 2 people and I'd lose every time. Dwayne, did Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it, but I do get a kick out of an all-star game, kind of a format where a guy that you're like going to take his head off, every other time you played him all season long. Now he's your teammate or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a weird dynamic that creates.
There's no doubt.
I like
But
the format.
the space that 3-on-3 provides, it just showcases their skills so much.
Right.
I mean, for somebody who's maybe not a hockey player who doesn't watch it every day, and it's a little easier to see the skill level in a 3-on-3 situation than a 5-on-5. So it was, Crosby made a couple moves that were just sick. I mean, so did some other guys. I mean, it just you kind of shake your head. So that's kind of the fun part of it.
Yeah, I think I when I was a kid, obviously, we watched a little bit on TV, but if you want to appreciate the skill of these guys and how big they are and how fast they are, go to a game and see things in live. I'll tell you what, come to a Meadville Bulldog hockey game. I mean, you'll be like watching the puck will be gone, and these are just no, don't take any offense, but these are just high school kids. We're not talking like pros, which is like it's just ridiculous. Some of the stuff that they can do.
But the great thing about for example, our high school game or even an Otters game, but specifically here, you can come stand on the glass.
That's what I'm saying.
And it is, you get a pretty good feel for how fast and how physical the game is.
Right.
Where if you go to a Penguin game and you're sitting up in nosebleeds, which seems to be where I end up when I go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great because you can see everything and you can watch plays develop, but you don't get that sense of speed and size and how the contact quite as well. But yeah.
So what do you guys think about this whole new thing? I'm sure you saw that they did it a little bit during the All-Star game where they basically put the flags on people of who they are and kind of put their names on them, and then
they're
they put
wearing
how fast they're going and the puck tracer and stuff. I mean, I'm curious to kind of see old and new different terminologies. So go ahead, Nick. Let's see what you have to think about it.
I think it's kind of neat. You just get to see how much time someone stays on the ice, and I think it's kind of an analytic thing.
Yeah.
Where you look at all the other sports, they use it a lot, and just it's kind of like that show, Sports Science.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to compare players and see their differences, and they're different styles of games. So.
Right. Absolutely. What do you think, Phillis?
I don't know. It's probably something good for when you watch as much hockey as I have, you don't need it.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me.
I knew he was going to do the old man get off my porch thing.
No.
I knew that was coming.
Now here's what's funny.
25 years
Here's
ago.
what's funny. Do you remember when Fox
Peter
covered
Puck.
hockey?
Yeah,
they had the thing that.
Yeah.
So it's, to
glowing
me,
puck,
it's not new. It's
Right.
they're trying to reinvent something that
Do you
they did
remember
a long
when
time ago.
the best thing I loved about that? This is wonderful because when the puck hit the dasher, it would end up in the penalty box.
Yeah.
Like the red line would be like in a penalty box.
Yeah.
But I think it's the idea for the people that like when I was refereeing, because I played, I could stay away from the play. Because if I was in the neutral zone and I saw a play coming, I didn't know like 100%, but I had a good feel for where the puck was just because we watched the game. And some people just don't have that.
Yeah. I mean, it's if I'd never watched a hockey game before, I think it'd be helpful. Absolutely. So, and that's what they're going for.
And
obviously.
I'm with you. I'm on the same page
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you. I don't need it, but I do think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
I didn't find it annoying. I didn't dislike it.
No.
So,
But like I said, you don't need it.
yeah.
Here's what we're going to do real quick. We're going to start with D's. We're going to go left to right, right to left on the radio dial, whatever you're looking. We're going to switch gears real quick. Dwayne, we're going to end with you all the way around. I'm going to have you close, if you don't mind. We're going to switch gears. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, it's hard to go against, obviously, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick when they've got 2 weeks. But obviously history says that they're going to win overall, but they're not going to win as of last year. So I'm going to kind of somewhat answer the question, and I'm going to take the 2.5 points and pick LA.
Nice.
How about that?
Nick?
I'd like to agree with him too. I want to see LA win, but with type of system they have going with Belichick and the quarterback they have, Brady, I don't think they're really beatable. So
It's tough to bet against them.
yeah.
It really is.
I'm pulling the wild card out. I'm going to say the commissioner puts New Orleans in there, and they beat just because everybody's all upset, and they win by 6.
Well, The reason I don't gamble on football is because my dislike for the Patriots will make me this.
That's why I'm taking the point, Scott.
It's purely emotional.
I know. I got you. Dwayne, what are you thinking? And I'll let you have fun.
Of the Steelers, and then whoever is playing against the Patriots.
That's right.
So, or the Cheatriots is the name that I have for that team. So yeah, they don't even belong there. The penalty late in that game, that Brady got hit in the face. No, he didn't. The guy never touched them. I mean, literally, the guy never touched his face mask at all. I mean, I think he bumped his sholler, but it was like, and it just figures. It's like everything goes in his favor. But, so I have a little chip on my shoulder about that whole thing. So,
with that said, Dwayne, I'm going to
can
let
I
you
shift
close
gears
it.
on something else here?
Real quick, yeah.
A long time, I've worked at Armstrong with Jeff Corey, and unfortunately he passed away here very recently and very unexpectedly. And now quite a load's fallen on Kevin Tomlin. He's just picking up all of Jeff's work in addition to his own work. So thanks to Kevin for keeping all the coverage out there. But all the high school sports that were covered, Jeff loved those, and I was with him for a number of things: soccer and basketball and football, and now wrestling here over the winter. But he will be missed, and best wishes out to his family, and sorry that happened. But don't worry, Armstrong's working out there to keep things covered, and we'll continue to do the best we can to keep things going. But Jeff will be missed.
And with that said, see you next time.